So we're going to talk about overcoming negative online reviews. The title, that's my title, official title. The title of the thing is how to get reviews for your community. It's kind of the same thing, just call it something different. Yeah, we will definitely talk about that. There's usually a lot of questions around this. Please ask questions anytime you want to ask. So I may cover something or say something that I didn't explain or explain very well. So just say, well, stop the bus. What do you mean? And we'll talk about whatever your questions are. Give you a better idea of understanding this. All right. First of all, I'm going to start with a story and what this is all about. When I was a young boy, about 10 or 11 years old, my dad worked in downtown Denver. He was a computer programmer for an oil company, and he took me into work on a Saturday morning. And we're down there. I remember walking from the car to the building, and I think it was the first time I'd ever been in downtown Denver. And I'm looking up at these just giant buildings, like in total amazement how big these buildings are. And my dad, he's kind of walking at this brisk pace, you know, he's trying to get in the building and get to work. I remember trying to keep up with him. But he reached out his hand to take my hand, an invitation. And so, of course, I did. Grabbed his hand and took it. He kind of pulled me along with him as we went. And I think back to that moment, and here I was in this place I'd never been, big buildings, unusual things happening. But you know what? I was not afraid. I wasn't scared, wasn't worried, because I trusted my dad. And when I took his hand, I had complete trust in him. And part of what you're doing in creating an online presence for your business is communicating trust. That someone can look at information about you and they can go, you know what? I trust them enough to be able to place my mom or to call them at least look at the next step that I need to do. So the whole issue and everything that we're talking about is trust. We'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, so why should you pay any attention to me related to this? So I first published my special report, Overcoming Negative Online Reviews, December 2010. I've been managing local listings and reviews for locally owned businesses since 2009. A lot of assisted living communities. And featured contributor in an article about online reviews in Indicate magazine earlier this year. This is covered by my guide. I just rewrote this for the 4th time, and I'll be publishing that on Kindle very soon. Here's the article called Attack and Kill the Review. So I put it there so my name's there so you know I wasn't just making that up. All right. All right, what are we going to cover today? So we're going to go through the reviews landscape. What is this about? What's happening? We're going to talk a little bit about mobile devices, where reviews are being collected, a little bit about consumer trust, the 6 main areas that impact review SEO. I'll explain more about that as we go. What to do if you get a negative review. And then finally, my 9-step review marketing plan. And I've got a checklist that I'll give to you here at the end. That you can kind of go through with marketing software. All right, so this is being called a number of different things: reputation management, or advocacy marketing, influencer marketing. I prefer to just call it review marketing. It's all driven by the online reviews. And reviews are everywhere. Anybody shop on eBay? So I haven't shopped on eBay in a long time, but this is in my account. That's the first place I saw online reviews. I bought something and the seller reviewed me as a buyer, and I reviewed the seller. Kind of my first experience with it. Amazon, anybody shop on Amazon? Okay, do you read the reviews on Amazon? Okay, totally. What is interesting to me on Amazon is that there's reviews of the reviews. So you see this here, 126 of 134 people found the following reviews helpful. So even the reviews are getting reviewed. I think that's a little crazy. Anybody heard of Uber? Yes. So Uber's this cool little app on your phone. It's in the metro area, so I don't know where all y'all are from if you're not from the metro area. If I want to ride, I just go on my app and say I need a driver. In about 10 minutes, the guy in his car picks me up. When I'm done, he drops me off. I say goodbye. He's automatically paid through the app. And then I get to rate him on how good a driver he was instantly in the app. So I don't know what's next. I'm kind of thinking, we should have like reviewmyparents.com. So kids can go review their parents. Or reviewmyspouse.com. That would be interesting. I should start that website, actually. That's a good idea. All right, so we're talking about mobile. This was a trip to San Francisco, but this is New York on the slide, so sorry if that confuses you. This is actually in my phone. That's not. I've never been to New York. All right, let's talk a little bit about mobile devices and what's happening with search in general on mobile devices. So, we've talked a lot. You probably considered, hey, people are searching on their computers. Well, more and more people are searching on their phones. 79% of smartphone owners and 81% of tablet owners use their device to search locally, looking for local businesses. 40 to 50% of mobile search carries a local intent. So chances are, if someone's searching on their mobile device, there's some kind of local intention behind it, at least half the time. This is important. This is a study from ComScore, by the way, just earlier this year. So size of business is not an excuse for lack of online presence. Searchers looking for independent businesses have high expectations of finding a business website. And to add to that, that is mobile friendly. They want to be able to look at information about your business on a mobile device and be able to easily look at that. That's their expectation. They don't care if you're mom and pop or a big company. They just want to be able to look at that information easily. Searches on portal sites. I'll explain a little bit more about that. But IYP is Internet Yellow Pages, and local sites have a similar chance of ending in a purchase. So these are sites we'll talk about, like yellowpages.com, more directory listing type sites like caring.com, for instance. So mobile is definitely a big important piece of this. All right, so let's kind of talk about some of the things that I'm seeing. So this is a big company. I don't think there's any of these companies here, but this is kind of the general search that I did. So these are the reviews that are out there. 1 star, 3 star, 3 star, and that's it. 1 review, 6 reviews, not much volume there, but this is a prominent national company that has that. So if you look and search on it. Here's an example of one of my clients. This is happening on Facebook. So this little gal here, Brantley Ann, left a 5-star review on Facebook. You can review on a Facebook page. So not too long ago, actually, it says right here, we get this message on the Facebook page of my client. It says, here's your employee admitting this. I'll read this to you guys. I won't do this to everybody, but so here's what this person here, Pepper London, who's not really a person, by the way, I'll explain that. Says, I was looking for information regarding the use of facility for my grandfather. I stumbled across one of your employees that informed me in a group full of 30,000 other women that your caregivers do not properly clean intact men because they find the intact penis to be disgusting. That is absurd, and I am mortified. May I please have the contact information for your management? I guess I'll be contacting social services. So it's like, what the heck?
That was online? Everybody in the whole
This is
world
on
saw
Facebook. This is on Facebook, on their Facebook page. Okay, now, I did some actual investigating. Everything that appears to be reality is not necessarily reality online. So first of all, Pepper London, that's not their real name. I contacted Pepper, and I asked about it because little Miss Brianna Leanne lives in Minnesota. She does happen to work for a care community, but it's not my client. She just happened to leave a review for some random reason on my client's page. So this other person made that connection. So I talked to her. I said, that gal's in Minnesota. We had an open dialogue. All this got removed. She took it. But if you don't have a social media policy, you probably should have one about what your employees should say online. Okay. Here's another one. This one just cracks me up. I had to post this one because it's absolutely hilarious. It's a one-star review, and this business only had one. This is actually a local business here in town. As I was walking by the facility, when one of the employees almost hit me, black hair, really skinny. He kind of looked like an ex-girlfriend of mine, but she wouldn't have any business in a care center since she can't even take care of her kids. Bottom line, make sure your employees can drive. So, I mean, this is nonsense, right? It shouldn't even be allowed, but there it was. That's just funny, I'm sorry. All right, so let's talk about where these are being collected. You have that question, right?
Yes.
Here's a short list of some of the sites where they're being collected. Let's talk about specifics. Google Places. That's kind of the local Google listings. Yelp, Foursquare, Merchant Circle. Angie's List. Not so much in assisted living. I don't necessarily see that much with Angie's List. Angie's List is kind of its own world. It's kind of separate from everything else. And more dependent on the niche. So when you talk assisted living, you're talking sites like caring.com, senioradvisor.com, seniorhomes.com, ourparents.com. Now, I put Seniors Blue Book up here. They don't really do reviews there, but Seniors Blue Book will do a free listing for your business. If you haven't done that, you probably should. It's free just for a basic website listing. There's probably a few others that I missed that I'm not thinking of, but those are kind of the main ones. Of course, if you happen to have a contract with a Place Your Mom, Place Your Mom will just run their site. All right, how did you get there? Any idea how you got on those sites? May not be on all of them, but you're on some of them. But if you have a business with a phone number and an address, you wound up on some of these sites. And I'll talk more about these listings and what happens with this data related to your name, address, phone number. It's called the NAP, N-A-P. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. All right, test your knowledge. What would you say the percentage of consumers that use online reviews? Percentage of consumers, 10? 90. 90? 65? Okay. Based on surveys, 86%. Okay, that actually use for anything. In general, generic. Not just assisted living. Restaurants, whatever. Landscaper. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know the numbers for assisted living. That'd be interesting to know. Percentage of consumers in general that trust online reviews. 79%, which has actually increased. So this survey was just done at the end of last year. About 3 years ago, they did it. The same survey, and it's actually gone up. So more and more people are actually putting trust in online reviews. All right, percentage of consumers that still use traditional Yellow Pages. No, it doesn't. 12. No, it doesn't. Why does it matter where you're from? Yeah. Oh. Yeah, there'd be too many choices. So 2%, unless you live in Florence.
2% of the state.
Then I can see that. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. It's a much smaller community. Everybody knows everybody. All right, well, that's going to lead us to other stuff too. All right, so that begs the question then, where do I spend my money on marketing? So there's a lot of options, right? You can do a newspaper ad, you can do TV ad, you can do whatever you want to do. The real decision you have to make is, why don't I put my money into something that people trust? What are the things that they trust the most? So that leads us to this survey, Nielsen Global Trust in Advertising and Brand Messaging. So again, this is a little more broad, obviously this is living specific. But what do people trust the most? This is what I call the trust potential. What's the trust potential of any form of advertising that you're going to do? How much does someone inherently trust that medium or that message or that moment when they get that message? So text ads on mobile devices, is only trusted 29% of the time. Typically, if I sign up for text ads on my phone, I ask them to send them to me, but I only trust it 29% of the time. I think that's weird. How about emails I signed up for? Anybody ever signed up for an email for something? Maybe from a restaurant, whatever. Trust factor on that, 50%. I actually signed up to get emails, but I only trust it half the time. I find that interesting. So, number 2 on this list, though, is consumer opinions posted online. The only thing that's trusted more is a personal recommendation from somebody else. Those are the 2 highest trust potential things that there are available in your advertising market. So, which tells me you should be doing everything to get your current clients to refer you and making sure your online reviews are good. Best bang for your marketing buck. All right, so these are some other stats on how consumers respond to the 5-star rating. So everything's both basically rated on 5 stars and 1 star. Okay, someone's got a 5-star rating, 84%. Would initiate business. A 4-star rating, 80%. Not a big difference between 4 and 5-star, I would say. If your rating's a 3-star, though, it drops significantly. Only 14% would actually consider doing business with somebody with a 3-star rating. 2 stars, even less. 1 star, forget it. Okay? Here's what's interesting on this. How about no ratings at all? So I have a choice. There's no ratings about your business, but there's 5 ratings about this business, and they're kind of average. I'm probably going to go with the one that's actually got reviews. So only 3% of potential new customers categorize themselves as likely to try a business with 0, 1, or 2 stars. All right, so let's talk a little bit about local search. I'm not going to go into all of this because it'll make your head spin. It makes my head spin. But there's factors on, your Google Plus page. There's factors of your website and how the coding is done on your website. There's factors of the links coming to your website. Reviews matter. How people interact with your website. How social media interacts with your website. All those are factors in how local search operates. This particular survey was done by service providers who help companies rank their websites. And there's 2 main categories that they listed. There's probably about 180 different things. These are the top 12 in foundational ranking factors, meaning this is the absolute minimum you should do, versus competitive difference makers, which means if you want to try to be more competitive, here's the things you should do. So of these 2 things here, these top 24 things that should be done, which a lot of this is on the checklist I'll give you, 14 out of the 24 are all related to online reviews. How reviews are how many reviews, we're going to talk about the 6 key areas of the reviews. It's all based on reviews. So this is a big deal. This has changed over the last 2 years. I've been monitoring this for 4 years. I've been looking at this. And over the last 2 years and the last 1 year, this has become way more prevalent. All right, so this is the simplified version. Make it a little easier. So these are the 6 main categories that matter: consistency, breadth, recency, quality, balance, and quantity. We'll talk about these. So consistency, again, has to do with name, address, phone number. So how your company is listed, the name of the company, your address, your phone number, your website, but there's consistency on all these different directory sites. So, and it varies. Right now, we're probably working on 200 plus directory sites that are working with a lot of our clients on Amazon. Now, there's a challenge with this and why you get inconsistent data across these sites. First of all, there's no single authoritative record. So there's no one single source that all these different sites say, okay, this is the official record, this is the official name, address, and phone number of this business. So, because sometimes we don't realize when we called the phone company and we set up our business, we gave them the name. They may have misspelled it. They may have put it wrong. They may have added something differently in a wrong way. And so that may be the initial source of a lot of this content. So these sites called aggregators, there's a handful of them, will take data from multiple sources, and then they push that out to even more sites. So you have no single source of data, multiple data sources, and then you have aggregators pushing wrong data all over the place. Government data, so any kind of online government records or information that you happen to have that's in the public domain, that gets pulled in. Web crawl results, so all the search engines send out their little spiders, crawling data. They don't necessarily put all the data in the right place. Stuff gets moved around. Claims, so if somebody was looking for your business and they came across a listing, and for some reason there was something wrong and they couldn't find it, the address was a street I blocked off and they couldn't find it, they could say this business isn't here. So now on at least one site, it says your business is closed. So that data gets pulled in. Consumer signals, so how consumers are interacting with your site, your data, your information is a factor. So this is the local search ecosystem. This is what it looks like. Okay, so some of these big ones like Info Group, Factual, EX, Newstart, these are the big aggregators, Axiom. So they're pulling data from multiple sources. Then they're pushing it out to all these other sources. And all these other sites are doing it. You got Facebook, you got Twitter, TripAdvisor. All these different sites are pulling data. It's a mess. And it's a lot of work. But it doesn't happen. All right. So that's consistency. That one was consistent. All right. So breadth. Breadth is the number of different sites that you have reviews on. So you can have, in this example, which one has the better reputation online, the better SEO, which is search engine optimization. In case anybody missed that. It means how easy is it to find your business. So business A or business B. I say business B because they have at least 7 or more reviews across multiple sites versus just one site with 50 reviews. So it's much better to be on more sites. Quantity is a factor. Here you have 2 businesses. One has 17 reviews for a coffee shop. The other one has 3. I got to decide which one do I want to go with. I'm probably going to look at the one that has more reviews. It's also, if you have a higher number of reviews, it's harder to fake that. And unfortunately, I've seen this even in the assisted living industry. There's a lot of fake reviews, and they're not authentic, which doesn't help you. So here we have 3, 17. So 17 is definitely better. This one here, you got a couple different situations. So at the top, you can't see this very well, but this one has, so that top one has less reviews, but it's ranked higher. But it looks like it's ranked higher because its overall average is 4.5 stars versus that second one, the overall average is only 4 stars. So not only do you have a quality score, you have the quantity. So there's a combination of both of those. But then down here, this one's a clear winner, 171 reviews versus only 10. So this is an interesting thing. This is a carousel. Anybody done a Google search, especially for a restaurant or something like that? Besides your phone book? I don't have a carousel on a phone book. How many restaurants do you have down there to choose from? Yeah, 2 or 3. Woo! That sure does make it easier, doesn't it? Sometimes I'm like, why? I was going to buy barbecue sauce the other day. It's like, seriously? Why do we need so many choices in barbecue sauce? This is barbecue sauce. Sorry, that's sidetrack. All right. So Google's carousel, you can kind of see, it's hard to see, but they're ranking these a little bit by how many there are in this particular area. This same carousel, so this is new. I just discovered this a couple weeks ago as I was working on this presentation some more. They're actually doing this for assisted living. So here we have all these different assisted livings, and it's giving us a number of reviews, and it's basically going and saying, hey, compare all these assisted livings side by side. Okay? This was just 2 weeks ago that I did that on Google. So you're coming up against your competition, and someone's got to go, let's see, no reviews, 5 reviews, 4.5 stars. Let's check that one out. All right, recency matters as well. Here you got 2 dentists, 1 reviewed a year ago versus 1 reviewed 2 weeks ago. Which one am I probably going to trust more? Probably the more recent. Balance. So balance is where you have good and negative reviews. Kind of have a mix. So this one's kind of different because, you know, they got 49 5-star reviews, which is kind of unusual to have that high a number and they all be 5 stars. That would make me a little suspicious. This one's got 23, but it's a good mix. You know, there's some, it was so-so, but then they got some high ratings as well. A little more believable, a little more easy to trust now. Quality matters as well. So the actual, what's in the review obviously matters. Are they talking about specific times, places, events, situations, people, specific to your industry? That has an impact on it as well. All right, so that's kind of those six areas. Any questions about that? I didn't frighten you. It seems a little overwhelming at times. It's really not that bad. All right, return on investment. Is it worth it to do anything related to this? So Harvard Business Study, a 1-star rating increase leads to a 5 to 9% increase in revenue. So let's say you're a 3.5 star, if you can go to 4.5 star, will you increase your revenues? Business owners say yes, they will. Same with Woodbury University School of Business Study. 79% of business owners expect revenue to increase at least 1%, which doesn't seem like much. But 65% expect revenue to increase by at least 5%, just based on having better reviews online. Okay, so they're important, right? You get that? They're everywhere, they're all over the place. Should upgrow your business. Why do you need a plan to manage reviews? Why should you even pay attention to this? Reviews are motivated by emotion. The challenge is, if you don't have a plan in place, when someone gets mad and you have no reviews, now you have 1 negative review. Angry customers want to vent. Happy customers are pretty happy. They may not be motivated to do anything. So you got to make it easy for them to leave reviews. That's some of what we'll talk about. Now, the good or the bad is that most angry people only vent once. If they are angry, they're probably only going to go to one site. They're not going to go to 2 or 3 or 10 and say something bad about you. So that's the good news of that. All right. What do I do if I get a negative review? All right. This is going to seem like a weird answer, but don't get one. Okay? That's my best advice. Our businesses are all about customer service, taking care of the customer. That's what we got to do. So don't get one. Do whatever you got to do to make it so you never do it. That's my best advice. But if you do get one, and I've talked to a number of different business owners, and this works really, really well. It's really a good plan of attack as well on how to do it. But go to that site. So you need to claim these listings, and I'll give you this checklist. You want to claim the listings on these sites. Sure. So then you can go on there and answer the review directly on there. So if it's a matter that's already resolved and the person went on there and they vented, you can go on there and at least say, hey, I'm the owner, I'm the manager, I'm whatever. This is who I am, this is my contact information. Either please contact me so we can resolve this, or this is what I did. This is what happened, this was the situation. These are everything that I did to try to make this customer happy. And to put that out there, so someone can then judge that for themselves, based on the person that reviewed you, and based on your response. Obviously, try to resolve the problem. Yeah.
So are you able to do a reply to the reviewer?
Yes.
Fairly easy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you have access to the site, you just need to have access to the site and your listing, which is in 200. That's on my checklist, so that you can do that. You want to be able to do that. So if you happen to resolve the problem, then ask them to change it. Ask them to adjust the review. Either add to it, modify it, something. If you've been able to resolve an issue with them, it's a good way to do it as well. If people are happy, they've been satisfied, chances are they're going to do that. The other question is, the first reaction is usually, like with my clients with the whole Facebook thing, was, oh my God, don't let them talk to you, or what are we going to do? This is terrible. It was like, whoa, time out. Let's make sure this is actual, real, and legitimate. And let's really do a little bit of investigation first. Because if it's not, we can get it removed. So I had one client that had a negative review on Yelp, and it was a friend of an employee who left a review. So that person, now Yelp has a very stringent terms of service. And they're actually, in a lot of ways, Yelp, a lot of companies, especially restaurants, hate Yelp. But Yelp has a terms of service. And whoever leaves the review actually has to have used your service. So this was a friend of an employee who said something bad about their facility. And I'm like, they didn't use it, they don't work there, and they didn't use it. Like, this is not legitimate, and Yelp reviewed it. So, that's part of the research, and depending on the rules of the different sites. Hard to do on Facebook. Facebook, you don't have as much control necessarily, so you kind of have to try to deal with that. All right, so here's kind of the 9 steps. We've got the checklist. I don't number these on the checklist, but all these are in that checklist somewhere, okay? So you definitely need a page on your site where you keep your own private reviews. So there's private reviews and public reviews. Private reviews are the ones you keep for yourself. So you definitely want to get reviews, testimonials from your existing clients, and have a page on your site. You also want to have a capture form, a simple little form that says, tell us how we're doing, put your name, doesn't necessarily need address, but name, email, and your review. So you're capturing those for yourself all the time. So public versus private reviews, kind of mentioned that. So Yelp is a public review, your website's a private review. So the other thing I recommend is a custom web address. So you can take your website and just do a /reviews. And that becomes a link that goes to that form that people can fill out. So that link then can go everywhere. Put that on your invoices, put that on flyers, promotional materials, your business card, whatever you want to do. For restaurants, we recommend they put a QR code right on their menus, or on the little, I've seen them on, what do you call those things you put your cup on? Coasters. Coasters. So they're on the coaster, you just scan it right off the coaster. So you don't necessarily need that, but it's good to have a link. You're just making it easy for people to have access to where to review. Another good thing is have a little badge on your website, a little icon you can create that says, hey, review us, tell us how we're doing. That links back again to that form. Work with your employees and staff. If they're talking to families and interacting with the families, they had a positive experience for some reason, thank you so much. Hey, would you mind going to our website /reviews and telling the staff we'd like to share that with everybody That guy's really happy. So just as a note of remembrance, reviews must be uncompensated. You really want them to be authentic because they need to be genuine and substantive. They can't be just, yeah, cool place. You know, let's try to encourage people to talk about their experience with us and what happened. You know, it's Yelp's pretty strict on this, like a restaurant saying, "Oh, we'll give you a free appetizer if you leave us a 5-star review." You can't buy reviews. It's a church of service.
I was just looking at a website for a product,
Yep.
and this one website, like I said, the number of reviews, had a lot of reviews. Finally, after wading through a whole bunch of complaint ones,
Yeah.
after you used their product for a certain amount of time, you had to go give a review before you could upgrade to what you were going.
Nice. So they're forcing a review on you. Yeah. 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 That's tricky. So then you want to monitor your reviews like that. I think I have an option on the checklist there that kind of tells you how to search. You search, it's down towards almost the last one there. Search your business name, address, and phone number. If you put all of those in the search results and either just that itself or add reviews at the end of that, you'll be able to kind of do a quick glance and see if there are any reviews about your business. Share reviews, so if you are using social media, you get positive reviews, make sure you're sharing that. All right, so you want to claim your listings. So this list here, I don't have it on the checklist. I don't know if you want to write this down, or I can send this to you if you want me to. These are the ones I would absolutely have as a minimum. And that's Google. It's called Google My Business now. It's Google Plus, Google Places, Google Maps. They've called it all kinds of different things over the years. It's now called Google My Business. And if you just go, hey, Google My Business, that'll come up. Yahoo Local and Bing Local are definitely really important. Yelp is important. Foursquare, Facebook, with having your location. So you have a Facebook page that's based on your location, address, phone number. All that matches up. I also highly recommend LinkedIn. So you should have your own personal profile on LinkedIn as a professional of your business, owner of your business, whatever it might be. And that's a place where you can get recommendations for yourself. But you can also create a company page on LinkedIn. And it's a little use space, but definitely worth it.
Since it's so easy to give a incorrect review on the Facebook account, spreads so fast, why should you listen to the average?
You really don't have a choice, because at some point your data is going to get pulled into Facebook for a local business anyway. All I got to do is drive by your place and go, oh, check in, boom, now you're on Facebook. It's driven by users. So if you want to avoid it, you know, maybe you can. Again, where you're at, it might be not an issue. But if you're in a larger, you know, city and space, you probably wind up on Facebook if you move it on. So, yeah. Driven by users, mobile devices, that kind of stuff. And then industry-specific sites, you definitely want to. So the ones we mentioned earlier, the caring.com, seniorhomes.com, senioradvisor.com. So let's see the other one. Ourparents.com. So you definitely want to make sure that you claim that listing, that you have access to it. It's basically just going there and signing up and verifying that, yes, I'm the owner of this business or manager of this business, and I'm in control. So this is location information on your website. So there's some specific coding, some basic HTML that's important to have on your website as well to make sure that it's done correctly. So all that data, because what happens then is that becomes more of the authoritative source on. That becomes the more authoritative source. What time are we supposed to end?
Oh, 10:30, you have 6
10:30.
minutes.
Okay. I thought so. I just want to make sure. Okay. Other questions? That was a lot of stuff. Really fast. I can make sure everybody gets this. So So you have all that stuff. Oh, so do this. There's two things you can do. So we have a system that helps this work. So depending on the size of your community, it may or may not make sense. But one thing you can do is go to my website. So there's three things there at the bottom. You go to dmdude.com/scan. You can put in, when you get to that page, you can put in your business address, name, phone number, and we basically monitor about the top 50 mobile directory sites. And that will give you an instant report that will show you exactly how your business shows up on those sites, whether the data is correct, whether it needs to be fixed or not. Okay, free, just go do that and use it. If you'd like to see a more competitive report, to go, when I search assisted living Littleton and all my competitors come up and I don't, in that local search, and you'd like to see why and what sites those guys are on, I can do a competitive report for you. Just hit the email on there, the support app, and say, yeah, I heard you speak at the conference, I'd like to get a competitive report, this is my business, this is the city I'm in, and I'll send you that, it'll just be a spreadsheet. So you can do that. And if you want to see how our review marketing system works, if you go on your desktop or mobile device, doesn't matter, if you go to reviewmemarketing.com, you can put in your name and email. It's got a little 5-star rating. Leave a review. You'll see how our system actually works and walks people through that process of helping to capture reviews. So number one thing, ask for reviews, get the positive reviews, collect reviews for yourself. Again, this is all about building trust in the online presence of people's minds when they